When I was a teenager, my parents moved to a new town, and I had to go to a new school. There was this one girl in my class who was super beautiful, and I would have given anything to go out on a date with her. In one of our classes, the teacher paired us up for a project, so we were going to have to spend some time alone together. I figured this was my chance to finally ask her out. We worked on the project at her house, but when I found out where she lived, I began to have second thoughts. She lived in a small wooden cabin in the woods. Her mother wasn't around, and her father really creeped me out. He seemed to be totally insane. He never said a word to me and acted as if I wasn't even there. He walked around the cabin with his shirt off, drinking beer, chewing on tobacco, and carrying a shotgun in his hand. It seemed like the only thing he was interested in was hunting. The walls were lined with bear skins, animal heads, deer antlers, and skulls. It was extremely creepy. At school, one of my friends told me that he heard a rumor about the girl. He said that her father had killed her mother years ago, but the police were never able to prove anything, so he got away with it. Apparently, the mother's body was found in the middle of town, riddled with bullet holes from a shotgun. He said the girl had to stay with her father because she had no other living relatives. The story really rattled me, but there was no way to find out if it was true. I wasn't actually going to come out and ask the girl about it. Eventually, I managed to work up the courage and ask her out on a date. And to my surprise, she said yes. We had an official date. That night, I drove over to her place to pick her up. She answered the door, wearing a short skirt, and she had done up her hair and put on makeup. To me, she looked gorgeous. Just as we were about to leave, her father took me aside and spoke to me for the first time. "You know what will happen if you ever touch her," he growled. Suddenly, the story about him murdering his wife was the only thing I could think about. I took the girl to a movie, and afterwards, we went skating. All night, her father's threat was preying on my mind. I was terrified that her dad was going to kill me when we got back to her place. I just couldn't get the thought out of my head. When the date had ended, I drove her back to her place in the woods. When we got to her house, she told me to park at the end of her driveway and turn off the headlights. She wanted a kiss. At this point, I managed to forget all about her crazy father. I leaned over and kissed her. Afterwards, I turned the headlights back on, and I noticed something strange. There was blood in the snow at the end of the driveway. At first, I thought I was just seeing things. She didn't seem to notice anything wrong, but my heart was beating fast. I wanted to say something, but I didn't want to sound like an idiot. There had to be a logical explanation for the red substance in the snow. I put the car in drive, and we started down the long, winding driveway to the top of her house. The trail of blood seemed to be getting thicker and thicker. I became more and more nervous. She still said nothing. She was fixing her makeup in the mirror. I kept driving, but all I could see was more blood in the snow. A chill ran down my spine, and I broke out into a cold sweat. I turned the last corner, and as we pulled up to her house, the headlights illuminated a figure standing outside. It was her father. He was standing there, covered in blood, and he was clutching a huge knife in his hand. There was something lying at his feet in a pool of blood. It looked like a body. Her father started to approach the car. I completely freaked out and started to hyperventilate. Suddenly, tears were rolling down my face. I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I even peed my pants. I was sure he was going to kill me. As it turned out, he had to drive me to the hospital instead. I was having a full-on panic attack. I found out later that her father had found a bear at the end of the driveway and shot it. He dragged it to the house and was in the middle of skinning it when we pulled up that night. I also found out her mother isn't dead. Her parents, in fact, are just divorced, and she moved out of state. We are still together to this day, and whenever I meet up with her father, we share a heartfelt laugh about how paranoid I was. But secretly, I'm just glad my head didn't end up on his wall like the rest of the animals. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you've enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below. But remember, stay haunted, my friends. I'll see you next time.